Imagine a teenager with no engineering degree, no wealthy investors, and no team. During a race, his old car's engine explodes in a ball of fire. The crowd laughs, telling him to take his junk home. But that same boy takes an idea from those ashes that keeps the CEOs of Ferrari and Lamborghini awake at night. He faced hunger, threats to leave his country, and was called insane. But how did he eventually build the world's fastest car? From a dusty garage to becoming the boss. The journey to owning a Bugatti that will change your mind. Mate was obsessed with machines. At 19, he was racing his old 1984 BMW E30 at a local event when the petrol engine suddenly blew up. Smoke billowed from the car, and the race was over. People mocked him, saying, "Go buy a real car." In Croatia at that time, electric cars were seen as a joke, and Mate didn't have the money for a new vehicle. Mate turned that humiliation into fuel. He thought, why not replace the petrol engine with an electric motor? He pulled parts out of an old washing machine and household tools, learned from the internet, and converted that old BMW into an electric beast in his garage. He proved that a burnt-out car could become the world's fastest machine. But could a homemade motor survive the brutal pressure of a professional racetrack? When Mate tried to improve his car, he realized parts for electric cars simply didn't exist in the market. Available batteries were too heavy, and the motors overheated instantly. When he asked big companies for help, they brushed him off, saying, "Electric cars are for playing golf, not for racing." He felt like he was hitting a brick wall in total darkness. Mate decided he wouldn't wait for anyone. He founded Rimac Automobili and started designing inverters, battery management systems, and motors himself. He stayed up all night building parts that didn't exist anywhere else in the world. He gave a basic car 600 horsepower, a miracle for that time. The parts were ready, but his pockets were empty, and bankruptcy was staring him in the face. By 2011, Mate had no money left to pay his employees. He was working in a tiny corner of his parents' house. No one in Croatia was willing to invest because the country had no car industry. He received phone calls telling him, "Shut this down and find a real job." Mate took his last bit of savings and built a prototype called Concept 1 for the Frankfurt Motor Show. He told his team this was their final chance. At the show, he stunned the world by proving what a tiny, broke team could achieve. Seeing the car's performance, a major investor finally showed interest. Investment arrived, but with a condition that could destroy Mate's entire future. An investor from the Middle East offered millions of dollars, but with one strict condition: move the company from Croatia to Abu Dhabi. For Mate, this was life-changing money, but it meant leaving behind the people who had supported him. If he refused, the company would shut down the following week. Mate took a massive gamble. He rejected the millions. He said, "I will build the world's best car in my own country." He chose to endure financial struggle rather than compromise his vision. He kept the company breathing by taking on small engineering side projects for other firms. This crisis had barely passed when a crash on a live TV show dragged Rimac's name through the mud. During filming for the Grand Tour, famous host Richard Hammond was driving Mate's Concept 1. On a sharp turn, the car flew off a hill, crashed, and burst into flames. Headlines worldwide screamed, "Rimac cars are dangerous death traps." Years of building trust turned to ash in seconds. Instead of hiding, Mate faced the truth. He released the car's data publicly and proved that despite the horrific crash and fire, Richard Hammond survived only because the car's safety cell was incredibly strong. He turned a disaster into a testimonial for his engineering. After this fame, he now had to prove to the world's biggest brands that he was better than them. Mate wanted to build a hypercar with 1,900 horsepower, equal to about 20 normal cars. Engineers said it was impossible. Drawing that much electricity at once would explode the battery. Tires wouldn't handle the speed, and the car would literally fly off the ground. Physics was against him. Mate put his entire team on intense research. They created a revolutionary liquid cooling system to keep the battery stable. They put a separate motor for each wheel, so a computer could stabilize the car's speed millions of times per second. He conquered physics with pure innovation. The technology was ready, but a giant named Bugatti stood in his way as a rival. Mate realized that just selling cars wasn't enough. Big companies viewed him as a boutique toy. He needed to plant his feet so firmly that these giants would have to come to him, but he had zero marketing budget. He quietly started supplying his batteries and tech to companies like Porsche and Aston Martin. When these giants tested Rimac's tech, they were stunned. They admitted that what they couldn't do with billions, this young man had done in a garage. Porsche was so impressed, they invested in Rimac themselves. Mate was now in a position where he could own the company he had admired since childhood. Bugatti needed a new vision, and Volkswagen wanted to sell it, but no one believed a 33-year-old kid could handle such a legendary crown. The industry looked at him with skepticism. Mate presented a plan that blew everyone away. He proved he could blend Bugatti's heritage with electric technology to make it a brand for the next century. He merged his company with Bugatti and became the CEO of Bugatti Rimac. It was the first time in history a startup had taken over such an empire. But could his own car, the Nevera, actually break the records he had promised? Mate claimed his car, the Nevera, would be the fastest production car ever. On the day of the test, the weather was bad, and experts said no records would fall. Mate's reputation was on the line. Mate stood on the track himself, supervising every detail. That day, the Nevera didn't just break one record, it broke 23 world records in a single day. It reached 0 to 400 kilometers per hour and back to 0 so fast it shook the automotive world. No one could doubt him anymore. At the peak of this mountain of success, Mate learned his greatest life lesson. Mate Rimac was now a billionaire, but he had sacrificed his health and personal life for this obsession. For years he worked 16 hours a day, slept on floors, and gave up everything. He admits, success looks beautiful from the outside, but it is a path of thorns on the inside. He changed his company culture and built a massive Rimac campus in Croatia to give global talent the opportunities he never had. He proved that success isn't just money, it's the legacy you leave behind. Today, he still lives a simple life, never forgetting his garage days. So, are you ready to walk through fire for your dreams like Mate Rimac? Mate Rimac's story tells us that a lack of resources isn't the problem, a lack of obsession is. If he had given up after seeing that burning BMW, the world's fastest hypercar would never exist. Remember, behind every great disaster is a hidden opportunity for success. Which part of Mate's struggle inspired you the most? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe to Haksni for more thrilling videos.